This is Dr. Troy Fullerton with Bilingual Barrier Busters, and tonight I want to talk about the critical period of language development. This is Dr. Troy Fullerton with Bilingual Barrier Busters, and I want to talk about a really interesting subject tonight and what implications it has for us as language learners. We know that there is what is called a critical period for developing language skills. Now, I don't mean foreign language skills, I mean any language. If somebody is not exposed to a full model of a language, that is correct grammar and all, in a natural setting, prior to the age of 13, it is unlikely that that individual will ever be able to develop a full model of any language, regardless of exposure or instruction. There is something that happens in one's brain, and that window of opportunity slams shut at about 13 years of age. This is why people who moved to the United States prior to age 13 and learned English as a second language often are able to sound like they have an indistinguishable accent. Their accent sounds basically, for all intents and purposes, American, whereas somebody who was older when he or she came to the United States and learned English as a second language will likely always have a noticeable accent regardless of how good his or her English skills become. There were actually efforts to poo-poo that, minimize that. It's just a fact nonetheless. So what does that mean for us as second language learners? Well, if we start learning our second language later on in life, chances are we're not going to have a totally natural sounding accent, but that's okay. We can still learn to make ourselves very well understood and pronounce very correctly. What difference does it make if we have a bit of an accent? After all, when people have different natural accents, don't we learn to understand them? Of course we do. So having a bit of an accent doesn't necessarily impede understanding. On the other hand, when we are older and we already have a well-developed native language, we can play off of what we know from that language, comparing it to our new language, and we develop what's called an inner language. We all do this. When we do, we will try to speak our new language through the lens of our native language until we find out that some aspect of that doesn't work, and then we have to shift gears and change it. But that's not all bad. We all do that, and as adults, we have some things available to us